our goal was at the end of the day always pursue God, pursue Christ, pursue the Word. And if our paths seem to be, if our goal is still to save Christ, and our paths are this way, they may cross at some point, right? So if we from here start just going in this way, then we are losing sight of the goal, right? And so as long as you keep going, and then if God wills, then our paths align one day, then that's kind of, thank God.
But yeah, we didn't want to focus on each other. Yeah.
Hello, welcome to another episode of With Tulua. In this one, I talked to Joyce and Sunny, who basically characterize the romance trope of friends to lovers. They do say the basis for a good marriage is a solid friendship, and a solid friendship they did have. And you could see how that solid friendship, because it was based on a Christ-centeredness, really is characterized in everything that they do, in their transition and navigating the bumps from going from friends into being in a romantic relationship, being married, navigating all of the challenges of marriage, and also parenting. It was a really interesting story to listen to. I was blessed by it so much, and I hope you are too.
Okay, so would you guys like to introduce yourselves and let us know how long you've been married?
I'm Joyce.
Sunny, you can go first. Yeah.
Oh, what are we doing?
Introduce yourselves. As we just started.
Just your names and how long you've been married.
Oh yeah, we've been married for
6 years?
6 years?
it's 5 years in June.
5 years in June.
It feels longer.
No, I just threw out a random number.
You were close.
That felt good. Yeah.
6 years, a good number.
Yeah.
How has it been? 5 years? No, I'm forgetting. How has 5 years of marriage been?
I'd say it's been a very eventful 5 years. In the time that since we got married, I think we lived in like 4 or 5 different places. This being the 5th place.
Yeah.
We lived in Chicago. We survived the pandemic, and so it's been a very eventful 5 years. Yeah.
For me, it feels like it kind of mellowed out, because I used to move around a lot and my life was really chaotic. And then after meeting Sunny, it kind of started balancing out, and it kind of chilled down, and I feel like we had a routine everywhere we went, because he's a really routine person, I'm not. So yeah, kind of the opposite. Yeah.
So you feel like your life kind of settled down because of his...
Yeah. But while we're moving. Yeah. So I used to be chaotic in chaos, but now it's life is still chaotic, but when we're doing it together, it feels more balanced. Yeah.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
You said that you guys are different?
Yeah, very different.
Very different?
Yeah.
How has that shown up in your marriage?
Go ahead.
It's I have to think about this. How has it shown up in our marriage?
Because you mentioned the scheduling thing and how we creates balance.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of big differences between Joyce and me. Joyce is an extrovert. I'm very introverted. Joyce kind of likes mess and chaos, and I like order and routine. And so, especially in the first couple of years, it was okay because we started with basically nothing. When we moved to Chicago, we were living out of a cardboard box, eating dinner off of a vacuum cleaner box. But she was enjoying it. I had fun too. But Joyce kind of thrives in mess sometimes, so we have to figure out how can we find that compromise between routine and order and cleanliness, and also mess, and letting Joyce thrive in that mess. So I think it was interesting, and then at one point it's just okay, you're gonna have a corner, that'll be your mess corner, that'll be your room, you can do what you need, but everywhere else, the shared spaces, let's try to keep it orderly or at least clean as possible.
Which I'm really good at. If I get an idea of the certain boundaries that are needed for someone to feel loved or cared for, that when it's clearly communicated to me, it's super easy for me. But I do just need that one. Actually, during premarital counseling, Pastor Eddie stopped us and was like, Sunny, Joyce is an artist, she's gonna just give her one corner or give her a room. Unfortunately, it's gonna be messy, because, and then to me it's because I need to see everything at the same time while I'm working on it, and like I need basically like a workbench. Yeah, but like it's a work room. Yeah, so like a work corner.
Yeah. So you're kind of like finding ways to make the differences.
And I feel like the flow is kind of working now because like Sunny now comes up with ideas that works better for me too. Like for example, you know the very famous like the middle clothes like chair where it's like it's not dirty, it's not clean.
Yeah.
So my room used to be that. So when he was like first dating me, he would like try to come into my room and it would be like.
There was no floor.
The only clear floor was the part that the door opened, and the rest
just
was
enough
like,
for you to get into.
Yeah, and then the rest of the books and like middle clothes and like whatever. But he'd be like, "Oh, where's a hairpin?" I'd be like, "I know exactly what it is." Because I knew where everything was. But then now he's like coming up with solutions like, "Oh, like instead of getting you like drawers where you have to fold everything and then you can't see anything, or like getting you a coat rack, why don't we get you like a open like shelf?" For clothes, so it's almost like retail, like where you can see all the clothes at once with no like closing. That works really well for me now. So like stuff like that, I feel like, because he gets what I need and then I get what he needs. Like we can kind of like brainstorm together. Yeah.
Oh, I see. So it's almost like synergy from being together. Like
so.
instead of like you doing your own thing and then figuring out the way it works because of his presence, you're figuring out like ways that work for both of you in the way that you're both happy with as well.
Because like to an extent, like me seeing mess and getting bothered by that's kind of a me problem, right? So just learning how we can work together so that it doesn't bother me as much. And then Joyce, on the other hand, is also trying to show love and doesn't want me to be bothered. And so I don't want her to have to go all the way to one extreme and do it my way, because my way is not necessarily the best way for everyone. So just trying to figure out what works.
Okay. Was there anything that was surprising after you got married?
Family culture?
Family culture.
Very different. Like the internal voices. Like I did notice that early on that our internal voice that we use to talk to ourselves were very different, even though our beliefs were the same.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So even though we believe the same things, like the surface things that we talk about, are like, because everyone has like an internal voice. Like, And then I was like, oh, where's that coming from? And I feel like, of course, like not all of it is from family, but also I feel like a lot of it is formed by like how family phrases things or how we've grown up and stuff like that. So like whenever we would say things out loud, sometimes the internal voices would carry out loud, right? And then we would like project or something like that. You're like, oh, like maybe that's coming from like my parents saying certain things growing up to me, or like Sunny's parents saying stuff to him growing up. And then like we were like, oh, like figuring that out together was really fun. Yeah, to be like, okay, that was one of my favorite parts about marriage was like figuring out what is like who we are because we ended up that way versus who we are because we wanted to be that way, and then discussing that together to like customize a new version of what we actually want, because like we can actually like put it on the table and reflect like, oh, I'm this way and like I talk this way to myself habitually, but like I want to try a new thing with you, kind of thing. And then also his voice kind of becomes like part of my internal voice now, and I'm thinking it does for you too. It's like, yeah, changing that is fun.
That's so interesting. So it's like when do you have an example that comes to mind?
Well, a really silly one is like I used to like, and Oliver does this too, but we can walk straight if we want to, but like we're so comfortable in the world.
Literally walk straight.
And confident and like just feel like we're at home anywhere we go. So we kind of run into a lot of things. And we're not. Sometimes we're hyper aware of our surroundings, but when we're not, we're very comfortable. So like things kind of happen. So I always hear in the back of my head my mom voice being like, Tantani, like walk slowly, or like always double check before you leave someone, because I always forget stuff. Like, the more you're in a rush, slow down, or like the more you're feeling angry, like take a deep breath and like, and all these like, So now like when I get really intense emotion or like high conflict situations, I become very like, let's think about this. Like I have this like walk through in my head of like regulate my emotions and stuff like that. And that's like an internal voice that I have from my mom. Stuff like that.
That is really cool. I have never thought of that. That's actually never crossed my mind before. But like, it sounds like what you're doing is you're recognizing what thought patterns you have, where it's coming from, and then which ones you want to keep, which ones you want to kind of shape to be like your thoughts and incorporate these thoughts moving forward. So almost like creating a family culture based on exposing what patterns you have and what patterns you then want to have.
Because if you do it mindlessly, it's just gonna be like whatever was there first, and I don't think that's necessarily always good.
How did you two first meet?
We first met when Joyce came back from China to come to study for OCAD. So she was coming back for school, and then she was invited by a friend to come to a high school retreat or high C retreat with a youth retreat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I wasn't youth, but I just went to like.
You were the youth graduating into college.
Because I was going to undergrad.
Yeah, it was grade 12s, and then so she came over, and then I was leading that retreat. I was doing praise and all those kinds of things, and that's where we first met. But we didn't really get to know each other until a couple months later. She started joining the young adults Bible studies that were going on with Mrs. Saga and Hope. Yeah. See, we went from youth to young adults so quickly in a couple of months.
When was this?
2014 is when you came back, I think. Yeah, 2014.
So were you just starting OCAD then?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I was like also in my very angry phase, or like no, I was healing from my angry phase. I'm still angry actually. I'm not angry at people as much anymore. Yeah. But like I woke up with like this giant white hoodie on me, and I was like, who put this sweater on a chair without knowing someone was sleeping there? Like I was so mad. I was like,
so
like
you
throwing stuff.
You thought they were using you as like
like they didn't see me at night, so they just like because that actually happened during the prayer meeting because I didn't know anybody else, and they were like, oh, pray for your friends. I was like, I only have like 3 people I got to know, so I prayed for those 3 people, and then I went in the corner where all the coats were, and the people kept stepping on me because it was like dark, and I was like, oh, I'm just a coat, and then so like the same thing happened, and I was like, and then my friend was like, oh, I think that's Sunny. He's like, I think he put it on you because it's cold. I was like, is this a K-drama? It's not a K-drama. Wake up. And then I was like, and then she's like, no, I think he put it on your purpose. It's like, okay, then you can give back to him because like I don't know this person. He did come and say hi earlier, and like we did like do like niceties, but we didn't actually like
talk.
Yeah. And so I was like, he owes me nothing. He has no reason to whatever. But then like we actually took the hoodie back to him, and he's like, oh yeah, like she looked cold, so I put the hoodie on her. And I was like, oh, thanks.
He's a K-drama.
And then Bible study started picking up at that church because it was like so far from where I live, because it's the Misala campus. And then I was living literally on top of the fry across Honest Ed's. Sunny was like, and I tried going to that Bible study, but then the rides were always very like patchy, and sometimes people would like flake, or like they wouldn't let me know until like the last minute if they could pick me up and stuff like that. But Sunny was like on the ball. He's like, at the end of the first Bible study, he'd be like, oh, so next week, same time, same place. Like he was very reliable, and he always, so he just became like my go-to person that I could always like go to Bible study with. Yeah.
Oh, so he would drive you to Bible study?
Yeah. So I would subway to Islington where he lived, and then hitch a ride with him to go to Mississauga.
Oh, why did you put the hoodie on Joyce?
Honestly, I don't remember that.
You don't remember
I
the
just
hoodie?
no. I know the hoodie. I know which one she's talking about, but I don't remember putting it on her. But I guess it was because she was cold.
But that's what it shows. It shows that's in your character to see someone when they're cold, that you do something about it. Yeah,
because I was wondering, was it like you had the first impression, you're like, oh, Joyce, she looks so good, let me take care of her.
I mean, I did think she was cute from whenever I first saw her, but still, you know, I think it was just someone looked cold, so I wanted to.
I actually like that better. Like, do you know the whole the Gennyuk theory?
The what theory?
The thing going on in Korea where it's like, oh, if someone
Perilla leaves.
Yeah.
So, when you go eat Korean barbecue, there's a green leaf called perilla leaves, and then when you try to pick up one, you know, everything comes up together, and then so it's kind of like sort of the whole thing in Korea right now is if a guy holds down the bottom perilla leaf for someone to take up the top for a girl, then it's like, oh, like why are you being so
like, is that a red flag or is that a green flag?
Yeah.
Like if your boyfriend grabs someone like
why are you flirting with this girl? Basically.
Yeah. So if a different girl reached for it and it's stuck, and then your boyfriend went and like helped her, is that a red flag or a green flag? Yeah, and I totally understand why it would be a red flag for some people, because if their boyfriend doesn't do that for them and they do it for another girl, like
then that's,
But like, I think that's what I like about Sunny is like he would do that for anybody, and then he's just like 10 times more to me. So I was like, oh, you can do that, like that's in your character. I love that about your character. Please keep being you. And then like I'm so honored that I get to benefit from it, like literally the closest, right? So yeah.
That's really cool. Because I was gonna be like, what's your first impressions of each other then that day when you met?
She thought I was 28 years old.
Wait, how old were you?
I was like 20.
No, it's because I always say, because I'm really bad with numbers, and so I have like no frame of like age or whatever. But also he had so much maturity, like the way he was leading the whole thing. I thought he was like the head pastor or something, because he was like.
He looked old.
No, he was totally and he was discipling everyone. He was like telling everyone it's okay if something happened. Like if there was like an emergency situation, he was always the first one to step up. So I'm like, oh, okay, he's clearly the leader.
Yeah, the person in charge. Yeah.
And you know how like young leaders are sometimes like, he wasn't like that either. Like he was very mellow,
very gentle leader.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Are you guys about the same age or?
2 years difference.
Yeah. 93, 95.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So then you started going out to Bible study. How did you become
best friends?
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, a big part of our like friendship was just we spent a lot of time together. It's actually funny though. This part I love to say is the phone call.
Oh.
Yeah.
the phone call?
The phone call, yes. So when we started getting close to being friends, this is actually like December of that year, so it's like 2 months into our friendship. She gives me a call one day. It's like late at night. She's like, "Can I give you a call?" So I said yes, and then she calls me and says, "Hey, you know, like, can you promise me that you'll never like me?"
Okay. I said, okay. I called you and I said, I have a feeling that we're gonna become best friends. Like we're rapidly like everything is like yeah. So that's why I was like, promise me you'll never like me.
Why?
Yeah.
Well, she had a lot of like not great experiences in leading up to coming back to Canada, just with guys who started saying that they're friends and then eventually always confessing that they like her, and then like just becoming very overbearing, a little like.
I think I internalized it as my fault more. Like I was like, oh, what am I doing wrong where I am not being a pure friend that gives them the wrong impression. I think I had a new, like a broken internal voice at that point where everyone, it felt like everyone was telling me like you're like leading people on, or like you are being too friendly, or like you're being too comfortable, or like you have to be like, and I was already like really careful. I would always like come up with these rules. Like I was really broken. I mean, I was really jaded and angry and bitter in middle school, high school, where I was like, every day I would look up WikiHows on how to repel men, and then I would intentionally, there are WikiHows, Yahoo Answers, like how do I like get guys to respect me as a human being, but also not like get angry at me for not liking them.
Oh, they'll get angry at you for not liking them.
Basically.
So then they were the ones that were kind of like, you're leading me.
Oh yeah, it's their fault though. 100% their fault. She's just a pretty girl who's nice to them.
We were all going through puberty. That's what it was. Like it was all messy, all puberty. And in some ways, like I could have been way better. We were all dealing with hormones, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's not like I didn't appreciate and like that care that they were giving me, right? Because I really wanted a friend. Like I really wanted brotherly love. And so when they did give me those things, no matter where it was coming from, I'd probably be like, wow, like I'm really grateful for this. And that probably was encouraging, right? So yeah, I think I hadn't learned what boundaries could look like for me yet. So I was like being really extreme about it. I was like setting all these rules. So that was my main like weapon of choice. Like, okay, we will always stand, like not with him, but before I would always be like, you have to stand 3 feet away from me at all times. You can only do like group hangouts where there's at least one girl, or you always have to leave the door open. Actually, I did do this with you. Like, we always have to leave the door open, like if we are in a location where no one else is, and then no this, no that. And so I have like a giant list of rules in my head on how I can make that I just didn't want it to get messy again.
Yeah.
I wanted everything, I wanted to practice clear communication and a clear boundaries relationship. And if we choose to go deeper, I wanted it to be like intentional, where we're both on the same page and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then as a result, it was very controlled and curated. Yeah. And so I think that was like my effort of suddenly, after I had been like, okay, God, I'm a very emotions-based person, so I'm not going to idolize my emotions and trust it like I have in the past. So I want you to highlight, if there is someone you want me to pursue in the future, you highlight this person for me, or else I'm just going to turn all emotions off. So that was the state I was in when I came back. And then that's when I met Sunny, and then suddenly, you're like, not only during Bible study, everything he's saying is making me realize I can really trust this person with my soul journey. Like, I can journey with this person, and if I were to be yoked together to this person, like, I would be safe. Like, where we could like take turns sharing manna, and even if one of us falls, like, the other person would keep like pulling us, if not at least like keeping us on track. Like the whole concept of being yoked together and being able to relax in that yoke, I think at one day in Bible study, there was like this whole conflict where they were discussing the character of God, and then I think it was about how God treated and felt towards those people who reject him. And I think that's something that we're both very passionate about, how God still really loves those people. And like, anyways, I'm going on a tangent here, but the person who was leading it was like, okay, it's not really that important, let's move on. And Sunny and I were the only ones who were stuck on it. I was like, this is so important. And then that's when I think it finally, like, everything clicked. And I realized, this person I have to be really careful with, because he might be the one. Like, he might be the one, my yoke mate. I don't like to say soulmate, because I think the one for us is the same person, Jesus. And I think that's why I like to use the concept of being yoked together as we're going together to the one.
I love where you went with this.
Yeah.
So for you to have then made that phone call,
Yeah.
it sounds like you recognized that there was a possibility
Yes.
there. So then I'm like, if you recognize that,
Yeah.
what were you hoping to?
So I think this happened where I was like, I have to be really careful. And the only toolkit I had like come up with at the time was control.
I see.
So I didn't really know how to be like, but he answered the way that I think I should have asked. I was like, I feel like we're going to become best friends. Promise me to never like me. So what I was saying is, I don't trust my emotions. Please don't trust your emotions. Like, let's not be emotional people. Because I was jaded about emotions. And then he's like, do you want to say it?
Yeah, I'm curious. Like, how did you feel here?
Yeah, so I was in my garage, like
and I was at
apartment garage. Yeah, and I was just sitting in my car. Like, ooh, why is this girl saying this? It's like random. Okay, interesting. So
at that point, did you have any sort of feelings about?
I mean, I wasn't sure. You know, I had just gotten to start getting to know her, so I thought she was cute, and I thought she was fun. Good energy, lots of energy. But, you know, I wasn't sure about my feelings at that point either anyway. So when she gave me this call, and she said, promise me you'll never like me. I was like, oh, I don't know. So after thinking about it, my response was, you know, I can't promise you that I'll never like you, because I'm a guy and I don't really know what my emotions may look like sometimes. But I can promise to try to not act on it unless we're both ready or in that space. And so she accepted that.
I'll take what I can get.
Yeah.
I like that.
But that to me was like, for the first time, someone telling me that they'll take my boundaries seriously, even if they don't necessarily agree with the style of them. Like, he didn't fight me on. He didn't say like, oh, you're being controlling. He just said, I see you. I hear where you're coming from, because he knew everything about my past too. So he was like, I see where you're coming from and I understand, and I'll do my best to like respect it, and then we can work on it together, like full disclosure. And I think that's where like I really got a lot of comfort in knowing that even if things get messy, like we'll still be able to talk about it openly. And honestly, having that conversation so early, I think helped us to be super good with DTRs, like defining the relationship things. Because when we got even closer, because we just kept getting closer.
I was going
closer
to
and
say.
closer. Yeah, because we were so compatible, in my opinion. Like, it just, I don't know how to describe it. Like when you siphon something.
Yeah, well, so we got really close because there were a lot of things that
yeah.
worked well together. So
like what?
my parents' restaurant was right beside where she lived, and so I'm like, she's a starving artist. She needs food.
I can feel that.
Yeah, I was like, we have some leftover food because sometimes in restaurant business you do have leftover kimbap or food. I'm like, it's either we throw it away or we take it home and eat it ourselves, right? So.
People stabbing us.
Yeah, I eat it every day, so might as well give it to some other people who need it. And so give her food, or she went to OCAD and I went to Ryerson, and we're not too far from each other, and I don't like to study anyway. So
he would just come along all my. I really liked to work, like do homework.
Yes.
So I'd be doing work and homework like everywhere, like in different cafes, and he would always follow me and like be sleeping in front of me while I'm. Yeah.
And then, of course, church. Every Friday we would go to Bible study together. Mondays we would go to volleyball because I ran volleyball. And then the group that we were, the young adults group we did Bible study with, people started doing rock climbing. So that's when we started.
Oh, so the rock climbing has been for a while.
Yes, yes.
Over 10 years?
About 10 years, yeah, on and off. So I would say like...
We were seeing each other every single day.
Basically every single day. Some
Except
days
for
we
Sunday.
wouldn't. Yeah,
Yeah.
Sundays we wouldn't, and then maybe a Tuesday we wouldn't. But
Okay, so
basically...
you went to different churches.
Yes,
so.
she went downtown church and I went to Mississauga. Yes, yeah.
So lots of exposure.
Exactly. But a lot of the things we try to do with groups or with
Yeah, made
friends.
that clear.
Oh yeah, so that. Because I was gonna say, like, if you became best friends, like, how did you draw the line?
So we.
There was a lot of steps forward and steps back.
Yeah, so we said, okay, what is dating to you? What does it mean? So like to make sure that we're not actually dating without realizing it, because if we are, we would love to know, right? So it's like we shouldn't do it unknowingly. So we're like, okay, what does courtship or dating look like to you? And what does it mean? And then we weren't doing those things. And we're like, okay, then let's keep like staying in community, inviting community in, like making it very like full disclosure, and like doing all of these outside like all these other activity focused stuff, and not just like meeting each other for the sake of meeting each other, but it was like to do stuff together. Yeah.
And I think community was a big part for us. And I think from the very beginning, we wanted that to be a focus for each of our lives, because her coming into Toronto, I didn't want me, if we were to become dating or whatever, I didn't want me to be her sole community, because that's not fair to her. Because like, should we start dating and break up, like she's left, and that's not great. So we always wanted to push each other into community, to speak with older brothers and sisters who can speak truth into our lives, and also speak to our pastors, and just get that spiritual guidance. Along with that, if we hear from a lot of our community thinking, hey, you guys are definitely dating, we want to take that into account as well, because even though we may think that we weren't dating, so we did do a lot of sit downs and talk about what does dating mean to you, all these kinds of things. If other people are thinking that, then we also don't want them to stumble in that way, or to have like misinformation. So what are we doing then in our actions that may feel like other people think that we're dating, right?
Yeah, exactly those things. Yeah.
Did people ever ask if you were dating before you were like,
Oh, yeah.
that come up?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a lot of them were like,
Yeah.
so when are you guys gonna start dating?
Yeah.
Or like, oh, do you guys like each other? I think he likes you. I think. And I was like, yeah, I know. We might one day, or we might, but like right now, neither of us are ready, and we were like really praying about it, and like, who knows, right? We might, but right now we're not ready to pursue each other actively within each other's community as a future potential partner to do life with, which is what dating meant to us. Meeting with each other's families, meeting with each other's communities, and like really like sharing each other's testimonies for the sake of seeing if we could do life together. Like, yeah.
Our goal was, at the end of the day, always pursue God, pursue Christ, pursue the Word. And if our paths seem to be, if our goal is still to stay in Christ, and our paths are this way, they may cross at some point, right? So if we from here start just going in this way, then we are losing sight of the goal, right? And so as long as you keep going, and then if God wills, our paths align one day, then that's kind of thank God.
Yeah, we didn't want to focus on each other
That couldn't have been easy though.
No, it was not. It was actually very interesting. So at one point, about a year later, I felt like God was telling me to tell her that I like her. I know, the Tim Hortons story. Yes, we're getting to it right now. So about a year and a bit into our friendship now, I felt God really putting onto my heart, like, hey, Sunny, you need to tell Joyce that you like her. And I was like, why? I have a really good friend and I don't want to lose this friend.
Because I specifically said, if you tell me you like me, I will flip the table, walk out on you, and you will never see me again.
That's what you told him in that phone call?
Oh, so this was like a while back, but still, it was very scary. And I just kept hearing and feeling God lead me and say, you need to tell her that you like her. But there was no prompt to be like, you start dating now. It was just, you need to tell her that's
be honest with her.
Yes, because, you need to stop hiding this part that you can now actually like be honest and move forward, whatever that forward looks like. So after, I don't know, months of me just like mulling it over, and one day finally I was like, okay, pretty sure it was either New Year's or Christmas, one of those two. I think it was New Year's. Anyway, really cold night. It was at like midnight after we finished studying. I was like, hey, can we like just sit for a bit and like, can we have a chat? Yeah, I mean,
cut it.
Yeah. And there was nowhere else open except the sketchy Tim Hortons at the corner of Spadina. You know, it is sketchy.
It's like
yes, everyone knows it. Yeah.
It's like modern day tavern. Someone kicks the door.
Oh my gosh.
Starts yelling.
Yeah, homeless people. And
I love.
Anyways, we're sitting there. It's like midnight. I'm like, okay, Joyce, I don't know. I really feel like God is telling me at this time to tell you how I feel, and I do like you, but you don't need to respond right now. Actually, like, it's probably better that you don't respond right now. I'm not saying I want something to come out of it. I just need, I can't ignore this prodding anymore to tell you that I like you. Yeah, and then so I told her that, and then we sat in silence.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how did she respond?
The tables are bolted.
Yeah, the tables are actually bolted down. So maybe
so you couldn't flip it.
Yeah, that's probably. That's why I chose that tip. But she's just like quiet, and my heart was just beating out of my chest the whole time. I was ready for it. Table flip, water in the face, slapping and running away. But eventually she's like, okay, thank you for telling me. And then she let me walk her home.
Oh, you asked, can I still walk you home?
Yeah.
And I said, okay.
Yes. So I walked her
home. So you ended it as
I didn't say anything.
Yes.
Yeah, as a thank you.
Yeah, it was very open. And so, yeah.
May I ask how you felt hearing that at the time?
I mean, it always feels nice when someone tells you they like you. But then this time it was someone that I was being really, really careful with because I knew the potential. I think I knew he was the one. Like,
at that point?
Like from the moment at Bible study. Like, because I had never felt my soul relax with anybody other than my parents like that. I'm very open to people, and I'm very open to me influencing them influencing me, but I'm always guarding my heart, and I'm not gonna let people influence my soul trajectory because I know very specifically where I want to go. But like, for the first time I met someone who's like, I could actually relax my soul in his presence, because like, even in a moment of weakness, he would sway me in the right direction, and we would like sway together in the right direction. And so I think that vulnerability, like the potential of me being able to fully relax my being in that presence, like really scared me. Like, not in a bad way, but in like, I have to tread very carefully. Like, I want to do this right. And then like, if I'm telling this to my grandchildren one day, or like I'm like writing a diary that's going to be published, and like, I want it to be so good. I don't want it to be messy, right? As much as it can be. I mean, it can be messy, but I want it to be intentional. I want every choice to be very intentional. I was like, okay, I'm not going to say anything. Because, like, if I say something that could sway this way or that way, when I'm not sure yet how to lead the conversation, that it might, in this moment, really impact him. Because he might take it as an extreme yes or an extreme no. Even though I think Sunny was fine, I was just being really careful with my words. Yeah. I was a little bit upset. It was funny because I think I was okay. I think I was okay to the point where I could be a little bratty, and I was like, oh, like, man, like, I want to like tell my best friend about this, but you're my best friend, so I can't even be like, oh my gosh, he said he liked me, to like the guy who said it. And so I was like, you betrayed me. You were supposed to be my best friend, then now you can't play my best friend because like there are certain things I can't confide in you for about you. But that was when he was also like really pushing me to build my sisterhood community again, because I was really broken in that compartment too. I was like super jaded, and because he had been doing that the whole time when we were friends, like, hey, you should pour into your sisters more, like, hey, you should reach out to your sisters more, like, hey, this person has been showing indications of wanting to be friends with you, but you keep shutting them down or like ignoring them. And I was like, oh, I was like, no, you should respond, or like, hey, isn't it somebody's birthday today? Like, hey, didn't your sister say she wanted to go here today? You should, like, because of that work that he was really encouraging me to do, like, I did have like people, I think, in that moment to like fall back on and be like, hey, like, can you discern with me, sit with me, like, blah blah. And then we just did a lot of DTRs.
Yes, let's say, how did you move forward from that conversation? Like, what happened after?
I think the first couple of months were a little rougher. I just gave her a lot of space, not trying to push too much conversation, not trying to push too much meetups. It was like just very sparse. But then I think after the first couple of months, we had a conversation, and I said, hey, like, how are you doing? And then she kind of shared a little bit about that. She's doing okay, but like it's just, the processing I think just took a little bit more time. And we eventually moved forward as continuing to be friends because there wasn't really not like a need to move into anything else. It was just more like that needed to be out there. So I think we, from that point, tried even more to be more careful because of the feelings were being acknowledged and that they're there, right? So,
Oh, during that time, like when you did give me space, it was really good because I was practicing, like sifting through, like, oh, what is authentically me and what is flirting? Because like I was trying to be like, okay, if he already has he's predisposed towards feeling amiable or like pleasant towards me, then I really need to honor that and not abuse it or manipulate it. Because I could easily, just by being another version of myself, I'm not faking it, but I can make it harder for him. And if I really want to treat him as someone's future husband, then I think that was something we talked about too during that time. It's like, God has not told us where we're going yet and who we're going to travel with yet. So like, what if we are each other's future husband and wife? How do we want to treat each other with honor? And also, what if we're not? What if we're meant to be best friends for life, but like not in the romantic sense? So then how do we treat each other with respect in a way that it won't, like, we can still be in each other's lives if you find a different partner, like we find different partners. Because I think that would really show how much we were doing it to serve our own emotions versus like how much we actually, like, we say we care about each other's soul journeys, but like we can prove it now. So it was really hard, but it was fun stuff. Like it was hard work.
Fun for you, Joyce.
But because it felt like good work. Like we could, and because we were talking about it the whole time, like usually I strategize about this kind of stuff in my head alone, and nobody really gets it.
So then after that, you guys were still friends. How did you then eventually decide to date?
Yeah, I mean, this is actually more her side, but I think like towards the latter half of that year, I think she would kind of started allowing herself to feel more towards me, I guess, like opening, like letting those feelings come out again, the emotions. And then her parents actually were coming around to visit in the fall, and so we still didn't feel quite ready to start dating at that time. But at that time when they came, we spoke, and I got to meet her parents. And then at one point, I talked to her dad, and I was like, hey, we talked together, I think. And like, we're not saying we're going to start dating. We're not dating yet, but like, we might, basically. We're gonna explore.
We want you to meet the person. Like, I want you to meet the person I'm talking to the most right now, because I want you to be involved in my life, and I want your prayers. And
yes,
this
that's what
might
we did.
be someone that I might eventually start pursuing. So I would like you to get to know them, kind of thing. I think also, like, to put it in a superficial way, growing up, I always had this desire to have whoever liked me ask my dad for permission to date me first, because I was like, make it as hard as possible, because if it's the one, then it'll work. Yeah. And then like, it's so funny that everyone else that I told that to, a lot of the guys would be like, oh, you know, that's not a common thing. That's like, a lot of guys would feel that really weird and uncomfortable. And I was like, okay, you're just telling me you're not the one. But we weren't even gonna date yet, and he wanted to meet my family. Like, we were just friends, and he wanted to like really be involved in my community and be honest with where he was. So I was like, wow, like.
Well, also, I don't have many opportunities to meet your family.
Yeah.
Overseas.
Yeah.
Had you met his family?
She had, because she came to the restaurant a couple times. Right?
But we hadn't had like a sit down. We did once we decided we were gonna start dating.
Yes. Yeah. My parents were a little.
You were always dating.
they weren't as open-minded in how we were communicating.
Like, what are you talking about?
They're like, you're sharing a lot of things with us, but we're just gonna assume you were dating this whole time.
Okay, thanks.
Wait, so how long from when you first met before you decided to start dating?
About 2.5, maybe 3 years, almost.
So you were friends for like 2.5, 3 years?
Yes.
Like really close friends?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then when it started getting really like, okay, at this point we're so close that we need to either like separate and like be friends from a distance, or we are gonna be honest about actively pursuing each other romantically. So let's spend some time separately in prayer and in community and in the word, and then like let's reconvene later. And so we did, and we both kind of felt like we were getting, yes, you guys are going to be together romantically, but not yet. And
that was weird.
That was really helpful for me.
Interesting. So you both had that separately.
Because like if it was just like yes, then it's like hard to know if that's actually God or like if it's our emotions. But like to me, I think that was like kind of God's grace to like give that to me, because then it was like Him assuring me like, hey, like don't worry, you can feel these emotions, but also you're not like being whipped around by it, because you can still hear me. And so, and also it was helpful that he got the same thing too. And so like, okay, like let's kind of not get our accounts in order, but like let's like continue, because it felt like God was saying there are more chapters to read, and I want to lead you individually through these growth chapters before you get to the other chapter. So like we really tried to grow during that time separately.
Yeah, that was a big thing. Yes, we were still close friends, but we felt like there were big things in our hearts that God wanted to work. Me, I think a lot of it was with family, and Joyce was a lot with community, and that needed to be done separately before we came together. Yeah.
Or also just be doing that for the other person,
Yes.
kind of. Yeah.
So healing with family and healing with community?
Or like at least learning how to coexist together peacefully. Yeah. And then because we had put a lot of things off for dating, like, oh, like this is for dating, this is not for now. Like I think there was a lot of like excitement and a clear line of like, that's why it wasn't like, it might have been messy from like, it might have looked a little muddy from outside, but for us it was very clear when we started dating, because we said all of these things are for dating people, not for friendships. And so when like you picked a day that was easy for me to remember.
She doesn't remember it anymore.
And I'm like looking at you, like what is it?
April 17?
7. Yeah.
April 7.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. April 7.
Why is that easy for you to remember?
Because 4 is a nice number, 7 is a nice number.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, I remember numbers based on emotions, which is why it's hard for me sometimes to remember. Okay. And then so, I thought we were going to go on a normal study date, so I like packed all my study stuff, and then I opened the door, and there's like a basket of like flowers.
It was Easter stuff, because it was after Easter, and so there was stuff on sale.
Hey. I love Easter colors. And there's a little plushy bunny holding like a little handmade book, handmade notebook. Yeah. And that was when Up was out.
Oh, that's effort. So that's what?
That's when Up the movie was out. So like adventure or whatever, like adventure book. So it had my full name in the front,
that's
like
a little cringe.
Joyce J.H. Kim, which was what I was going by at the time or something like that. And then I was like, will you fill the rest of the chapters of our lives with me or something like that? In the front page. And then I'm like,
I cringe now.
But if he set up a camera at the end of the hallway to record my reaction, because he knew I would want that. But then I was like,
yeah, she looked at the bunny, and then she looked at the phone, and she's like,
that's literally the
yeah.
It with a double chin. I was like,
yeah, and then I walk out with the
and then I
bouquet.
hear a beautiful crinkling sound. I look up and he's holding like a bouquet of flowers.
Oh.
Yeah. And he's like, will you be my girlfriend? Or something like that. Yeah.
Oh, that's so
And I was
adorable.
like, yes. And then we went out to eat, and then we went to study. Because
Oh, you should
I want to
study.
study.
Like I brought my books.
And then like we held hands crossing the street, I think.
Was that one of the things you had
Yeah,
like?
we were not holding hands. Yeah. Unless like it's a life-threatening situation. But, like,
Absolutely need to hold
yeah.
hands.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And
Okay.
then we started dating. And
How
it was
does it
great. It was
feel?
so natural.
How different was the experience of dating from?
Very different.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. It felt like we unlocked premium.
It's like you're going basic plan and it's still so good, but then you unlock like even
Spotify
more.
Premium. There's no ads anymore. You can pick the artist. Yeah.
You can listen to songs you actually want to listen to.
Exactly.
And previously, we had always been careful to talk about, like, hey, in my future, I would like to do this with my future husband. Or he would say, like, oh, what is your viewpoint on, like, childbirth, on kids, and on, like, these situations? I was like, oh, like, these hypotheticals, like, what would you do if this happened and then I lost something? Or, like, we would always do that in hypotheticals, but now we could actually be like, hey, if this happens to us,
What would we do?
yeah, so we could ask. We already had a very clear understanding of where we stood in all those really hard topics, like finances or like kids or housing and like family and everything. But like now we could custom, like not plan it, but like that was fun.
So then you're beginning to like shape your lives together with more intentionality.
Yeah,
This
so
was-
like it changed, but it didn't change. Like our dynamic was still, we were really close friends, and that friendship carried over. But then we were able to kind of talk about some of the different things, and also things like hold hands and actually go on a date. Like actually having like set days that it was just a date, right? And then sometimes we do things with friends.
It was also safer to talk about skinship and like physical touch and like stumbling and like lust and stuff like that, because like now we know this is an open conversation and we can be like, hey, like this, I really struggle when you do this, like can you help me with this? Or like, hey, could we try doing this because this means something really good to me? And then we could be open about that, because if you talk about that when you're just friends, like that opens a flood of like different stuff we might not be ready for, right? So like we were like, okay, like we can actually keep each other accountable, like hey, like can you pray for me for this? Yeah. When we started dating, was that when we talked to Pastor Eddie?
Yes.
Yeah. He was like, oh, people usually do this when they're getting married.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, guys. This is great.
So did you talk to him and then do Piran to come to him with you
Later
after?
on,
Yes.
But like we actually said, oh, we would like to tell you and disclose to you that we are considering starting to date, and we would like your prayer and guidance in this.
I don't know if I was there for that, but that's because he was your main pastor, and that's why.
No, I think you were there. Yeah, and I think I asked to book a meeting with him. He's like, what is this about? I was like, no, it's nothing. He's like, what is it about? And I was like, no, I just like, oh, and he's like, can we talk now? I was like, no, let's talk like when like next week or something. And then he's like, okay, this is what I thought it was gonna be. And I was so glad. I was like, oh, it's great, guys. Well, you guys seem to know what you're doing.
What did he say? Like,
Yeah.
did he give any advice at that time, or was he just like?
He's like, the fact that you're already like including community and like keeping each other accountable and like even telling this to me, which most people like
Wouldn't do,
don't.
yeah.
He's like, oh, I usually have to find out later, and then like I try to do counsel then, but then all the important stuff is already solidified. And yeah, I really appreciate you keeping me in the loop. But now I'm like, oh, did I want this? Like, I'm like,
So good job.
like, oh, you guys seem to know what you're doing. Like, remember, I'm always here to blah, blah.
Yeah.
Like, he did give us some basic stuff, like basic advice, like, oh, don't let like previous baggage like define your. Actually, was that my mom? I don't know.
Yes,
That was your mom.
because you spoke to
That
your
was your mom.
family.
Yeah.
You spoke to Pastor Eddie.
Yeah.
What did your mom like? What did you get any advice, or how was your community kind of involved?
I was surprised my dad wasn't, because he always said, you can't date till you're 30. But he's like, wow. And I was waiting for him to be like, bop, bop, like,
Yeah.
who's this guy? But he was like, wow, such a nice guy. I can't wait to go camping with him. And I was like, Dad,
That's not the point.
you were supposed to be mean to him. But like,
Because he'd already met you at that point.
no,
right?
that was the first time.
Well, yes, that was the
Oh, the
first
first time
time.
you met, he's like, this is fine, let's go
And
camping.
then he said, like, Mom and I know your track record, and we know you really think about these things, and we know you, because I did share all my like growth with them.
Yeah.
Like every time there was like a really gross, messy relationship, like I always told them about it, either like after or like during, or like they found the emails or something, and I had to. they're like, yeah, and we know your track record, and we know you have your own relationship with God, and we respect that because we're equal children of God at this point.
Yeah.
You're an adult, like you're your own person, so like whoever you love, we know that is a good person, and that we love and that kind of stuff. So we're just happy to be included.
Oh,
Yeah, like thank you so much for including us. Like, so I was like, oh, that's so nice. And then my mom, one thing she said was, make sure not to carry over like past relationship baggage into this relationship. And if it does, which it will, inevitably, just be honest about it. Like, hey, I'm feeling this way because of this. Like, can you help me with this? And like, don't let those things define this current relationship. Yeah. So,
Had you both dated before?
I haven't.
not formally.
Oh, okay. So it was just like relationships with people, but not necessarily like
Yeah.
being in a relationship.
Like hardcore dealing at most. Like, where everyone was like, are you sure you guys? And that's what I really liked about ours, was like, it was very clear. Like, very clear.
Not like murky situationships.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, once we decided, I hope I never made you guess where you stood with me.
No.
Yeah. And then he never, like, I never was guessing, like, oh, does he like me? Does he not like me? How does he feel about me in this one? I never had to guess that. So, like, the assurance was crazy. Yeah.
Like, after you started dating. Okay. How long did you date for?
Till we got married. About a year and a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how was that dating process like? I know you said you're a lot premium, but I'm curious to know if there were any like challenges or any moments where you like wondered if this was the right decision, the right time, or anything that kind of threatened the relationship.
I don't know about you, but I don't think we ever challenged or questioned the decision itself, because it was made. So we were moving forward into
I
it.
think we did all that hard work of discerning before.
Yeah. But there were definitely questions about like, okay, what does future look like? Is what we're doing right now good? Identifying like conflicts are a hard thing, and then also like, as Joyce was talking about, skinship or those kinds of things, because physical touch is one of my big love languages, and I think for you too, to an extent, physical touch. So like drive,
touching,
yeah.
like-
So did you say punching?
Like,
Yes, that was one of the ways.
friendly physical touch, I really like it. And someone's like, yo, actually, don't do that to me.
You like doing
I
it
like
to
doing it to
other
other
people?
people.
She does it to guys, to be one of the bros.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, it was a lot of redefining boundaries and just kind of.
Yeah, how did you navigate that? Like, because you're in a loving relationship where you do want to touch each other, but you also want to set those boundaries. Like, how was that for you?
Oh, I made a list. I was like, to me, these things are just for marriage, but I'm open to trying, like, building up to these things eventually. And then, worst case scenario, if we stumble, let's stumble this way. And then, like, let's just make sure to really, like,
Yeah, there was like a hard stop.
So you're like categorize like acts of
And
touching.
we barely made it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, I'm so glad we made that hard stop. I think that's like something I like that we did. It wasn't like, oh, when we do this, it's over. Because I think that's the big danger with being like, this is the line, and when you cross it, you're done, so you might as well go all the way. But it's like more like, no, I can't wait to enjoy these things with you and unlock it. Like,
Premium.
yeah, like it was so much more fun to
Yeah.
do it in the safety and security and like the honoring of marriage. It would be so much more fun. And so like there was like an excitement about like honoring
The future,
that.
yeah.
It wasn't just like, oh, it's a line that we shall not pass. Like, but why not? Because we defined like, okay, these are this.
Well, like some concrete ones. One is like kissing on the lips.
Yeah, that was like that would be
big
fun
one.
to keep. So.
And then a
Wait,
funny.
that's one you kept for marriage?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
We kissed on the lips for the first time.
At your wedding?
At the
Yes.
wedding.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I never
She
kissed
kissed
a guy on
when
the
we
lips.
kissed. She ran away.
No, that's
Ew.
Was it like a kiss or like a pet? It's like,
Ew.
no, it's because I
Yeah.
put so much lip balm on, I think,
Yeah,
because I was
yeah, yeah.
nervous that when he kissed me, it was so moist. I was like, I was not ready.
And then a funny one was doing ears. So
Oh my
cleaning
gosh.
ears. She wanted to save that for something to do with their future husband.
Yeah, it's one of my love
Is
languages.
cleaning people's ears?
It's a very Korean thing. So
Oh.
They have an ear spoon, and for our honeymoon, he bought us this light up earwax spoon. So it's like a lightsaber, it like lights up in your ear. And for our anniversary recently, he came with a camera. So I was like,
So that actually makes sense.
yeah, I mean, I can do it to anybody, but like I wanted to save the first time we did it
for marriage.
Yeah.
Because it felt more intimate to you.
Yes.
Because it's not like sexual at all, but it's more like my mom would always do that for the family. So in my head, like that's like a family thing that I would love to continue to give as an act of service kind of thing.
Yeah. So then what did you do in dating? Hold hands?
Dating, there was a lot, you know, there was dating. Joyce. This is a PG show, right?
I hope so.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was easier because we had set tiers instead of just a line, and so because of those tiers, we're like, oh, like let's try to like really treasure these tiers more. Like let's really try to like find meaning in like the way we do these things more now, so we learn to enjoy it, and then we'll slowly like by being good stewards of this will become more and more pleasurable and like even better. Like and I think that was really cool. Actually, it was really good for us physically too. I think. Yeah.
I think what I like that I'm hearing as a thread is the thoughtfulness that you guys put into every decision that you've made, like every moment that you've had. There's a lot of thoughtfulness. So curious, at what point did you then decide that, okay, yes, we're going to get married, or was that like the point, or was it just like a natural evolution of the...
I think going into dating, we defined dating as courtship, which is basically like the step before marriage of like, okay, now are we really a good fit? And so I think since going into the relationship, we discussed a lot about that. I think when we started dating, we were pretty sure that, okay, we do want to get married. Now it's just hopefully a matter of when, as opposed to
and like what emotional work we have to do to prepare for that step.
Actually, I was gonna ask, because you mentioned that you had, at the point where you heard like you guys were going to date but not now, there was like a so when did you know it was the right timing?
I think at one point we got back together and we're like, I still feel yes, but there's no weight anymore.
Like that barrier was lifted.
So then with the stuff with family and community, had they changed?
A little bit. I think there was more positive growth in my heart towards my family, and I think Joyce was also, I don't know, yes.
I would like, it's not, I still instinctively have my withdrawal moments or desire to be like, oh yeah, that's how you guys are gonna be, then I'm just not gonna give myself to you guys. Like I still have that in moments of weakness, but like at least I have someone to talk about it with and to keep me accountable. And also like I'm trying to practice telling them, hey, this is how I felt. What did you mean? Or like, why weren't you there? Like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's not like we completely resolved everything, but it's like if we were at negative 1,000, we were at negative 999.
And like we have the desire. I think that was the difference. We now have the desire to work on that even on our own.
Yes.
And now we know it won't be for each other.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because if we had said, oh, the prerequisite to dating me is you gotta figure things out with your family, or you gotta like get some more girlfriends, then I think it would have become like, and then you finish the goal and then you don't have to do it again. But now like we're finally established in our growth where it's like,
regardless of this relationship, this is something I want to do for myself.
The kinetic.
Oh, interesting. So what were some of the things that you were walking through then to decide when to get married?
There was a very natural break. We were on Twitter till our graduation.
Everybody thesis first.
Yes. So she was going crazy around that.
Did all the wedding planning.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And that was fun.
Oh, I heard that can be so hard.
Oh, yeah, that was
Everyone was like, how's wedding planning? I was like, oh, it's great. By the way, my thesis. And he's like, it's not.
It was not great.
It was not great.
We can talk about that later. But, you know, in terms of, like, getting married, it was, you know, her parents needed to be back in town. I was also planning on going to Chicago for school, so we wanted to be before that. So it just kind of naturally worked pretty well.
Day after graduation.
Yeah, we got married the day after her graduation.
Not because, like, we tried to, but graduation just ended up being really late.
Yeah,
it just landed before
June 14th.
The day.
We got married June 15th.
And the church was doing something the week after, so we had to, like...
Yes.
It was funny, though.
Yeah. But yeah, wedding planning was interesting. That might be a whole nother.
Why? Is that an abridged version?
The abridged version is.
I wanted a zero budget wedding.
Zero budget.
Yeah.
And
So
I realized.
$0.
Yeah, $0.
I was idolizing my dream wedding and wanting to control it to be very. I don't know.
She wanted to feed that poor girl heart and aesthetic in our life.
I'm still like, oh, I wish we could have done a lot of things differently. But like, because it is a joining of families, I think it was just funny to me. Because I've always heard like in my life, like, oh, you're gonna have to sacrifice so much, you're gonna have to surrender so much. But you always see it in media, it's like, oh, you're gonna have to like settle for a cheaper wedding. You're gonna have to like settle for like having more people than you want. You're gonna have to settle for like doing it not in your ideal like inside space. And I was like, that's great. Like I want, but then I had to settle for that actually. I had to settle like.
For a church and
and for actually like a smaller number. But
Well, it's not a small number.
How many people did you have at your wedding?
I think it was somewhere between 700 to 800 people, and I'm not really sure exactly the number.
Wait, how much were you hoping for?
No, I was just like open invite, anybody come.
Yeah, it wasn't
actually
open
it
invite.
was. That was successful. Yeah. Oh, but I just wanted everyone at New Hope to come. That was a different story.
We can't control that.
No, the announcements just didn't go out.
Oh,
Anyways.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's a whole nother. Anyways, the abridged version is just that wedding planning stuff was very chaotic because we were both pretty broke at that point. So figuring out how we can. My brother's wedding was a year before too, so my parents couldn't really put it in. Her parents are they didn't have the money either. So we had to pay for it out of pocket as much as possible. And
you were just finishing school. Were
Exactly.
you working at that time or you were in school?
I mean, I was working part-time. I had finished school the year before, right?
So I was like, yes, all the perfect things for a zero budget wedding.
And then, so what changed? How did you get the budget for the wedding?
No. It just ended up needing to be a little bit more traditional than we thought we wanted it to be for the sake of loving our community a little better.
Yeah, I mean, our budget was really low still. Like at the end of the day, the cost that went in was really low. We did a lot of things because we did the ceremony at New Hope, Mississauga. We also did lunch reception there.
Sunny cooked.
Instead of getting catering, we did food prep ourselves.
And people did do potluck.
Yes, we got a lot of volunteers.
All my friends brought food. That was
Joyce's
really
friend
nice.
helped make her wedding dress.
Oh yeah.
So there were a lot of things where
it really felt like a community event, and that at the end of the day, that's what I wanted, and it is what it was. So it's nice. Yeah.
So you got through wedding planning.
Yeah, we got through it. Not very good.
I've had all couples say it was like so hard, and like I don't know.
No, it was
like,
great.
On your end, so I just was cruising along. But you went through your thesis, you're excused, but. Good job, Sunny. I can't imagine how much work it is.
But actually, I think that's really symbolic of how we're navigating our duo now. Where it's like, we figured out we can do both. Sunny can do the carry the emotional load, and he can carry the mental load, and I can do that too. But like, if we really had to choose which one we could do more efficiently, like sometimes in times of need where we can't both be doing both, like let's split tasks like that instead of splitting it like, oh, you have to do an equal amount of taxes as me, and you have to do equal amount of thank you cards as me, and like gift giving and everything. Like you take care of this while I take care of this at the same time, and like we can like tag team it, and it'll still be equitable. Like that was really interesting. Yeah. So like instead of like me trying to force myself in that moment, if I were to do the wedding planning again, instead of like trying to force myself to take on half the load, I think I would be like, okay, how can I support you while you do this, so you don't have to worry about the other stuff while you shine in this area, or like maybe that's really interesting.
So not so much like a 50-50, but like a whatever you need, I'll cover whatever you like.
And I think that's one thing that we really value is that marriage is not 50-50 and a relationship is not 50-50, because it never should be. You're not putting 50% into a marriage, right? You should be putting 100%, and each of us bear things in a different way. We provide different things into the relationship. So for instance, like with chores, right? Like if one of us prefers to do dishes, like I prefer to do the cooking, so me asking Joyce to do cooking 50% of the time doesn't make sense, because Joyce has a harder time with cooking, whereas I do the cooking. I can be more efficient, and I like to do it anyway, so why would I? It just doesn't make sense. So then she does other things. Like,
I kind of like doing the dishes, And I like eating your food, so.
That's the other half, the eating the food.
It works out. Okay, so I feel like it sounds like equity is important to you, but just the way it shows up is not like a division in the sense of how people might think of like dividing up work.
And I think being honest with each other and talking about it really helps, because now with baby, like we find ourselves saying the phrase like, hey, this feels unfair, but we know it's not about things being fair, because it's impossible for things to be fair. We just felt alone in this moment, so can you help me feel less alone in this moment? Or like, I think it felt unfair because I had done this unseen labor. And at the end of the day, I'm not saying it has to be fair. I'm just saying I wish you acknowledge that and you see it. And so I think those conversations are super helpful to me. And I like it when like he tells me like things that is on his heart. Because at the end of the day, even if it's bad or good, it's connection to me.
Yeah, and I think that's one big thing we carried on from premarital counseling into our marriage and into our relationship is when your partner comes with you, or it actually works with everyone, if someone comes to you with an I feel statement, if you respond to that with an I think statement, then you're already at
having a different conversation. Yeah.
So first, if someone comes I feel, then you need to acknowledge that feeling, and then maybe it's just stay in that feeling, and then we can move on. But they don't necessarily want a solution. So, because when I come with feelings, it's like I feel, and then Joyce sometimes.
I'm very solutions based, so I'm like, okay, well, I think that I can do this better, or like I think I meant this, but it's like
so it's like sitting in the emotions.
Yeah, or just acknowledging them. Like, okay, I'm sorry that I made you feel.
Or like even asking more questions so we can process it together.
Okay. I think that kind of leads to one of the things I was gonna ask is, what do you think makes a relationship thrive?
He's cute.
Sorry, you say he's cute? You know what I just realized? I didn't ask you like what made you think Joyce was the one?
I mean, we're similar in the way that we don't really believe in the one.
Yes, because Jesus is the one.
Yes.
Your yoke mate, sorry, let me say that.
I don't know. There was a lot of things. I think we worked really well together. Like same thing, like our brains worked well together, and our spiritual, theological beliefs also aligned. That was a big thing. Our worldview really, really aligned.
Yeah.
And not just in the terms of like currently, but also in the view of raising kids or navigating conflict or whatever.
The differences are very surface level. Like it's not. None of our disagreements are salvation issues.
Yes, our core beliefs were very, very aligned, and we were both okay with some of the external or peripheral things being misaligned, which is fine, which is what you should be. And and she's pretty.
She's cute. And he's cute. It works out. Did you find, because baby, did you find your relationship change pre and post?
I think we're both a little bit more short fuse sometimes, a little bit more irritable.
Because we're so overstimulated.
I can imagine.
Like he's really cute, but he's cute all the time, like right here. So,
that's Oliver she's talking about. But I think we keep trying to go back to the aspect of we need to keep pursuing God, right? Like it's sometimes we do lose focus and we go really focus on this right now, Joyce and me. Our situation is kind of rough, with Oliver, he's a handful, so sometimes we are overstimulated. But trying to reset, like even when we're in conflict, resetting and going back to God and being like, okay, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Maybe that was not the most graceful way to.
I love that you do that. Yeah. Instead of just identifying a moment with how we react, but how we choose to react after we have a moment was really helpful for me, because like we both make mistakes where like we're so overwhelmed, we don't have the support that we wish we had or the childcare that we wish we had, and so like a lot of bitterness and anger does bubble up in that, and we feel so like at the end of our rope. But like it's not, I noticed that even if he makes a mistake or like something less than ideal, he'll immediately go back and explain to Oliver like, hey, this is how I reacted, this isn't how I should have reacted, and I'm sorry, like let's try this together. And I feel like that's actually better than just being perfect from the get-go, because then that gives him a template, like steps on how to do it himself too. So I've been trying to do that too, like because usually in my head, if I messed up, I messed up. But then I think that walking backwards intentionally to get back on track is like really helping me too. Also, another thing was realizing this is us at rock bottom, kind of.
Yeah, it's the hardest time of our lives.
Sometimes I'll be like, why is he acting like that? Why am I acting like this? Like when we've never been like this before. Are we changing? Is this what our relationship is now? Oh, this is how it ends. But then I'm like, no, this is us at rock bottom, and it's not too shabby for rock bottom. So it's like we just need to like figure out how to manage this. Like it's a fun experiment almost. Like we're being put in a chamber, like a Tamagotchi simulation that we can't escape. And if it's like life or death if we don't. But like once we're out of this, like this is just a season. Yeah. Kind of. Yeah.
Your hair stuck on your head.
Thank you.
How do you focus on God? How are you intentional about focusing on God so that you don't so you're able to do that work that you're just describing?
It's hard. Even finding time to do quiet times, reading, praying, I think right now it's at any point, sometimes it's even when I'm putting Oliver to sleep and I'm just waiting for him to sleep, I'm just take some extra time to pray. Or being intentional, but like before getting onto or even if I'm on my work laptop, take 5-10 minutes, pray, or just think, just take a stop and breathe. When we're in conflict, taking a step away if I need, or asking for that space and communicating in a way that I know Joyce needs it. And just a lot of it is, I don't know. It's hard. That's all I can say. Yeah.
Do you both do devos together or like pray together?
No. Yeah. I realized one of the hardest things right now, like when people say like, oh, parenting is hard, I thought it was gonna be like just difficult, like the level is hard, like the individual tasks are hard, but no, it's like just it's hard for me because all of my coping strategies, coping mechanisms, ways of worship, routines that like help me keep being me and aligning myself with God, all of those are suddenly like gone because like the time that I can do that with is suddenly time that I have to keep this baby alive, right? Yeah. So like now I'm trying to be less stubborn about like I need that back in my life the way it was. I'm trying to find modifications of like how can this look more capsule form, like more scattered throughout the day instead of like, because I used to love just when I had a problem or like an issue at hand in my head, I would just like write letters, like page-long letters to like my best friend, or like I would sit down and do like a full-on like 4-page Bible study, and then I would come up with an answer. Like it would be like issue, bang, answer. But then now I can't do any of that, and I can't like even like sit and do art as a way of worship that like I used to like for like 6 hours at a time. So now I'm just like, okay, how can I break it down? I'm still figuring it out. I don't know. I think that's the hardest thing, that I can't keep doing those things.
So you need to find a new way of
to reset. Or else I just keep spiraling. So for now, one thing I've been doing is like I try to just look at the Bible app, and then I do a voice to text message to like my group chat with Ty and Noel, and then just like process that way. Or I will say it out loud to Oliver, like I'm telling him a story, like, hey, like this is how I'm feeling, but this is what God says, like what should we do? Like let's read this Bible book together and figure it out. And then like just
it's because you're a very big external processor. And I'm a very internal processor, and so that's why I think the way we do things are a little different too.
See some of those differences again. Okay. If I ask the last question, is there anything you're hopeful for in the future?
Daycare. No, I mean honestly, I think there is just a lot of hope. I think every day we see Oliver growing, and I think it's really cool to see him learning something new. And I think I'm just hopeful for us learning to be more of a family and doing stuff together. Like that's not just Joyce and me having to give Oliver, keep him preoccupied or whatever. Just like I'm looking forward to doing something together that gives all of us life and that gives all of us a fun time, not just Oliver. Yeah.
You mentioned that we were super thoughtful about like these things, so I think I'm excited to do that with Oliver. Like for us to talk about if he comes up with like a mom, like I have this problem, like what's your viewpoint on this? And we're like, okay, like this is my worldview. What is your worldview? Let's form it together. Like, or like even doing emotional labor together, like the emotional math. I love doing emotional math together. Like this is how I feel. This is how you feel. Let's suss it out and then see like okay, this one, and then like we come up with balance 0, like, and everyone feels good and connected. Yeah. So, I think, I'm really hopeful because we're both very bitter, angry people. But we also are very both sensitive in very different ways. Sunny and me, like almost like polar up, like, I don't know. Different ways.
Different ways, yeah.
And so I would like to say we have pretty good EQ. And that's the one, what do you call like, the thing you give to your children? Like the trait. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, traits. Generational trait. Hereditary.
Like, on my will or whatever. Yeah. It's the one thing I want to pass on to Oliver. This inheritance I want to give to Oliver is the ability to communicate with community. That's actually part of his name. Beckett means a cottage for bees. And then like bees are known to like communicate with each other really well through like dance and like arts and whatever. So yeah, we want him to be able to communicate with community well, and also like just high EQ, emotional intelligence would be really great. Yeah.
I know you asked us about our hopes, but I don't know if that was meant to be Oliver focused.
Oh no, it's
but yeah, right now a lot of our lives
revolves around him.
Yeah. But
I can't wait till we have time again
to just be with each other.
Just to do our own stuff.
To exist.
Yeah.
I feel like it kind of came full circle because we started out talking about like your thought patterns and how you're like intentional about laying them out and how that's shaping the kind of culture that you want to have. And I feel like you kind of wrapped it up with like with Oliver's role and with both like with your family units, like how you want to continue to move in that direction. So you kind of focus on that. So it's really good. The last question.
Yes.
How would you describe your relationship in one word?
Oh, is this our tagline?
Yes, it's the tagline. This is the title of it.
I don't know. I think someone was a fun couple.
Yeah, no pressure.
It's not one word. Okay, one word.
One word.
Do we get separate words?
Yes, you do get separate.
Okay.
Oh, that's how it combines.
Yeah.
It's like last names,
okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
But don't think about it from a vegan perspective. Just
I'm just
We're very like personality tests.
Yeah. In one word.
Man, this is what I should have been thinking of. That's a really important thing.
Collaborative. I think might be one for me. It's not the most, flashy word.
I know, because I'm trying to push the word chaos out of my head.
It can be chaotic.
No,
chaos.
It's fine. Family is
chaotic collaboration.
No. I think what would be a word to describe that, like, instead of just going along with how things are out of habit, you're constantly going back to re-examine it.
Yeah.
And like come up with our own like custom version.
I don't know.
Intentional? Customized?
Sure. Reflective. I don't know.
Yeah.
What one feels like? Is there any that comes across in your mind that you're like, oh, maybe not that one. That one's fine.
Chaos is fine.
Yeah.
No, like very specific. It's intentional, I guess. Yeah, it just sounds boring.
Want to look up synonyms?
No, it's okay. I guess. What was the other one? The customized? Custom built.
Custom built. I think custom built.
I don't know.
How do you feel about it?
We could do custom chaos if you want. I can change my word.
No, don't change your word.
No, but honestly,
it's a collaboration.
Oh, exactly. We're collaborating
They're
to get
collaborating
this
to come up with the word.
to customize.
Don't think about it as
Okay,
the title, just think about the words
I like it, but I
that
feel
reflect it.
No, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
Because,
What word did you make?
Custom chaos, did
Yeah.
you say?
Yeah.
The
But
custom
I'm going to take
chaos.
custom, you be chaos.
Yeah, custom chaos.
Don't think about it from the title.
No, I know,
but it
we're
works.
thinking about it for us.
Okay, for
Yeah.
you. So you feel
that's
like
why it's so meaningful. We're like, we have to come up with the perfect one because it's
Because
gonna.
we don't want it to be collab and custom though, because I think that is one aspect of us. But I do think the chaotic part is one huge aspect of us that we can't neglect. So.
So the custom chaos couple.
Yes.
Yes, love it. Well, that's it. Thank you so much for your time. It's really, really good hearing your story. We're so interested. Thank you.
So that was Joyce and Sunny's story. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. A lot of people often ask me through the process of going through this series, what was something that I learned, or what is something that I'm learning. And I think with this being the last episode for this series, at least in this season, there's echoes of things that I had heard or seen from interviewing previous couples. Things like how you're so different, but the difference kind of works, that sense of being complementary. Also the giving, not 50-50, but 100. There's so many echoes of what makes a relationship kind of work. But I think what really stood out for me from Joyce and Sunny's was having a foundation of Christ. One of my favorite things that they said was how they never wanted to take their eyes off of Christ and focus on each other, but really just keep Christ at the center of everything that they did. And I think when we often think about relationships that are kind of orchestrated by God, it comes in so many ways. Like we've seen through them, the relationship itself bore fruits that were evident of God's Spirit at work in them. So that's something that I'm really taking away with me when thinking about what a godly relationship looks like, whether that's even just a friendship, a romantic relationship, any kind of relationship that's godly. One of the things I'm keeping with me is the evidence of godliness being how the other person enables you to be more Christ-like and bears fruits of the Spirit. I know it's the last episode for now, but I'm really excited for what God has been doing, and I really hope that you have been blessed by this and all of the other episodes as I have. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you at a later time. Bye.